How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of Sally Creative Design. In this episode, I'm going to show you guys how I go about creating shadows to apply to presentations when I want to display and present a project that I work on social media, as well as just adding shadows in actual projects that I work on. Shadows are something that I believe shadows are just meant to help an element in a design stick out, but they're not supposed to be too loud. They're not supposed to be super visible to a point where they're just too distracting from the main element. Shadows, you gotta be really careful, because if you don't know how to properly use shadows, it's just gonna make your design look really ugly, and that's the last thing you want. You don't want your work to look ugly, do you? I sure don't want my work to look ugly. So I'm going to show you how I go about creating shadows. This technique, this is two techniques that I use a lot, and the reason why I use these techniques is because I don't like using the regular shadow effect that Photoshop offers in the tool shadow thing that they offer. I mean, it is great to use those shadows, and as you will see in some tutorials, I use it, but it's good to use it in just little elements, in little tiny elements. But when you're using it on something like a presentation, like I'm going to show you here, I don't want my shadows to be too consistent. I guess you can say consistent. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So let's open Photoshop. I have Photoshop right here open, and I have two different shadows that they're slightly different. For example, this one right here on the right, this shadow is coming in an angle. The light source is on the top right, so that means that the shadow is on the bottom left. When it comes to shadows, you got to think about the light source. You got to think about how light and shadows behave, how they're connected. For example, if you have a light here, the shadow is gonna come down here. There's no way the shadow can go here unless you have lights all around, you know? So we're gonna go and look at Photoshop, and I'm going to show you. So right here in Photoshop, we also have this one right here on the left. And now with this one, the light source is on the top. So that means that the shadow is coming down. It's coming down, you know? Remember when using shadows, about where the light source is on the design. It doesn't need to be like a bright actual light. Like it's just how our mind perceives shadows and lights. Like if you see a shadow going in one direction, you already know that the light is on the opposite. So you want to be really careful, and you want to keep in mind how shadows and light, how they both interact with one another when putting shadows in your design. Even if it's really simple, even if it's a simple design, that's huge. This helps design flow nicely. So either way, I'm going to show you how I made this one first, and again, you can apply this to any design. I'm just using this as an example. So I'm going to delete. This one is the background, the wood background. So I'm going to just lock that in, and I'm going to delete everything else. Well, I'm going to delete. Let's see. I want to delete this. There we go. So it's just one left. Okay. So with that, I'm going to center it. What you want to do is that you want to click on your layer to select the whole layer. In this case scenario, my layer is a smart object, my flyer is a smart object. So I'm going to command and then click on it to select the marching ants. And then with that being selected, I'm going to create a new layer down here. Click on create a new layer. You create a new layer down here, and then you see it up here. Now you want to go right here to your colors and select black, solid black. You want to go right here to the paint bucket tool and make sure that the paint bucket tool is selected. You want to click inside your selection, and you want to press to fill it in with black. Now if your selection is, let's say, a bottle, it'll be like a black shape of a bottle. If your selection is I don't know, a human being, like a person, it's gonna be a selection of it's gonna be a a black silhouette of a person, because the whole selection of the person is gonna be filled black. So either way, once you have the black element, you want to drag it down so it's behind your design, in this case my flyer, so it's behind my flyer. And then what I do is that I go up here to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then you want to mess with the blur and see which one you like the most. In this case scenario, I'll do 20, nah, I'll do 40. I'll do 40. And then what I want to do is that since I want it to mostly stick out from the bottom, because I want my light source to be from above and then coming down, I wanna bring down my shadow slash Gaussian blur layer. I wanna bring it down, and I wanna make it smaller, a bit smaller. Still kind of big, so that on the sides you can see the shadows sticking a little bit from the sides, but not so much from the top, more from the bottom. And that's it. A really nice, really simple shadow. Now the other shadow is a little bit more complicated, but still pretty cool. So this would be one shadow that I create, right? One shadow. If I hide my layer, you see like it's just a black square with a really soft edge all around. But yeah, so I'm gonna duplicate my flyer, and I'm gonna bring it right here, and then I'm going to, again, same step, command click on the layer to select it, or I'm gonna put the shortcut on the screen. If you have a Windows computer and an Apple computer, I'm gonna put the shortcut there. And then after selecting the layer, you want to click on new layer, again, paint bucket tool, select the paint bucket tool, make sure it's black, and fill it in. Once it's filled in, what you want to do is that you want to bring that layer behind your design, so it's right here, it's just behind it. And then what I want to do is that I want to go to filter, blur, motion blur. Now with motion blur, I'd say, okay, so where's my light source gonna be? It's gonna be on the top right, so the shadow should be down here. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to make the angle 45, and you're gonna see that the shadows, they go both on the top and on the bottom, but that's fine, because right now I'm just creating the shadow. So with that in mind, I just make it so that it's angled, I'm going to put 90, and then press OK. Now this is the fun part. The next steps is just pretty much duplicating the layer and reapplying the same effect. For this, I use keyboard shortcuts. The duplicate layer, which is Command J to duplicate it, and then to reapply the effect, which is on Apple computer is Alt Command and what is it, F? Alt Command F. I think it's right here. Alt Command F. And when I do that, I reapply the effect to the thing. Or you can just go here. I think it's Control. Yeah, it's Control Command F. It's a lot of shortcuts to remember, but yeah, Control Command F to reapply the effect to the new layer. And once I reapply it, it's just gonna make the shadow go farther out. Or you can simply go here to blur, motion blur, and add a little more to it. I'll just keep it 30, and then again duplicate the first layer right here of the shadow, duplicate it, and then add the effect to it again. So in this case scenario, I'm gonna go to blur, motion blur, add it a lot more. I'm gonna add 190, and again duplicate it. And this is why I use the shortcuts, because it's just a lot of duplicating and reapplying the effects, duplicating and then reapplying the effect, and as you can see the effect there. And I want to apply more effect to this, and I want to apply more effect to, no, maybe not that, this one. I want to apply more effect to this one. So the more you're duplicating it and the more you're reapplying the effect to the background back, black layer, is just going, since it's the motion blur tool, it's just going to extend both ends of the blur on the top right and on the bottom left. So right now you can see that. Okay, so it's almost there. It's almost there. Now what I want to do is that I want to get rid of the top shadow, because that's where the light is coming from. So what I do is that I select all the layers, I group them by going right here to group, or pressing Command G on a Mac. On a PC, I'll put the shortcut up there. And then with that selected, you want to add a mask by clicking right here on the mask icon. Add a layer mask. And then with the layer mask added, you want to click on soft brush tool. On the soft brush tool right here, brush tool, make sure it's hardness 0, size pretty big, up to you how big you want the brush tool to be. I think that's good enough. You want to select the black color, select the mask right here, the white, and you just want to paint over it with the black, because black on the mask means that it's hiding the content. So you just want to paint over it like so. You want to be careful not to paint too much on the bottom, just because you don't want to get rid of that. That's where the shadow is supposed to be, but not right here on the top. And if you paint over it, that's okay. Just switch the color from black to white. White will mean that it's gonna bring it back, and you see like right there, it brought back that little bit. You see right there. And there we go. Now the shadow is a bit too strong, so what I want to do is that I just want to lower the opacity to maybe 80. I'll lower the opacity to 80, and that's it. And even if I take the wooden background out, you can still see the shadows there. Look right there, you can see the motion shadow. Now I can, since it's a white background, in this case scenario, I would lower the opacity to maybe 68. And if you think that this motion is going too far out, you would just open the group layer and hide whatever layer you wouldn't want to display. So you see right here, so if I hide those, I'm already altering how far it goes out. So now you guys know how I add my custom shadows to my designs. I use these techniques on most of my designs where I want to customize my shadows and I want to have full control of how they look. With the help of the Gaussian blur tool and the motion blur tool, I am able to create my custom shadows that you will see on a lot of designs. As I said earlier, shadows play a big role in every design. They're not supposed to stick a lot, but they're supposed to help a design stand out. You don't want your shadows to be too strong, because that will just be ugly, but at the same time you want them to flow nicely. You want them to flow nicely so that the design as a whole is a really strong design. So hopefully this helped you guys kind of like figuring out other techniques to go about using shadows. I just came up with these techniques just because I hate using the shadow tool that Photoshop offers on every design, because the shadows look the same on every design. So with this, just by being able to mess with the amount of Gaussian blur and the amount of motion blur that I'm adding to the shadow, and just messing with the angles and stuff like that, I'm already creating custom shadows that they're not the same on my designs. They're really subtle, they're custom. It's nothing big, it's nothing out of this world, but little things matter when it comes to graphic design, and this is going to help you make your design stand out. Hopefully this tutorial helped you out. If this did help you out, make sure to hit the like button. If you have any questions or any information on any videos that you would want me to create in the future, leave them in the comments. I always listen to whatever you guys want. Also, if you want more in-depth tutorials about Photoshop, make sure to go to Saleh Creative Design. The link is right there. Make sure to go to that website if you want to learn Photoshop. I'll have tutorials not only about Photoshop but also about the business side of graphic design. Now with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Until the next.